So here is my setup for my aquaponics system. I started with a basic hydroponics system and I expanded to this current system. As you can see, my plants are growing very well. I'm starting to get to the point where I'm ready to transfer them into the other grow beds. I have tomatoes, broccoli, spinach, and mint. So this is where we're at right now. My hydroponic system I had just sitting on the concrete floor and I was never able to keep the water temperature warm enough to get good growth, although I didn't do too bad. But this is the system now, so I'll go through everything here. So first, the plumbing was always what I could never figure out. This is called a chop system, and I can't remember exactly what it stands for, but it means that I have a single pump doing all of the work for me, and then the rest is gravity fed. So to start out in here, I have I think it's about a 600 gallon per hour pump, and then I have a bubbler which keeps the water moving and oxygenates the water a little bit more before it makes it up to my fish tank, which I'll show you here in a minute. I also have 200 watt heaters in here. As you can see down here, I'll explain this here in a minute, but I built everything here myself, with the exception of the tanks. So it goes from this pump, and you need to just make sure that the pump's fully covered with water, and then it comes up here through this 1/2-inch pipe, and it goes into, as you can see, this line here, and I have several holes drilled to allow the water to escape. This also helps aerate the water because it is constantly circulating the water. And here you can see I just have cheap feeder fish, and actually a couple dead ones that I got to get out, but these are 12 cents per fish, and I had initially 150 in the tank. But basically the water comes from this pipe here, and it goes and it creates a swirl motion, so the water goes like this. And the way I did that was through this bubbler on the other side, which you can't see yet, which I'll show you here in a minute. I have a $19 automatic feeder, so I don't have to remember to do that. It feeds twice a day. My goal is to create lots of poop from the fish, but let me show you here. So the water comes in that swirl motion. I also have another 100 watt heater. I have a pleca to try to keep my tank clean. But basically this bubbler pushes the water upward, which also creates aeration on the top of the water because it's constantly moving. And then I have these two pipes that go down to the bottom, and I was getting fish getting sucked up into there, and I still do occasionally. That's why I have that piece of block there to try to hold those screens down. But basically it sucks all of the water down from the bottom, which collects the solids and goes into this pipe, which is now 3/4 inch pipe. I tapped and drilled the tank with a diamond cutting hole saw, which didn't take too long. This is extra thick non-tempered glass. And then the water comes down. There's also a skimmer effect, which doesn't work because I have to trim down that T yet. I then piped it out 3/4 inch all the way down into my swirl filter. And the swirl filter is, let's see if it'll show up here. Basically, it goes down into the two pipes. One points one way, one points the other way. Halfway down the tube, which creates the swirl effect and in turn collects my solids at the bottom. Next, it goes through that bulkhead fitting, which is 3/4 inch bulkhead fitting, down into this pipe, and then it pushes the water up. And as you can see, I have a screen in here. And the screen collects bacteria and in turn converts the nitrates into nitrites, or vice versa. I'm not really sure how exactly that works. Then the pipe comes out of this bulkhead fitting at the top of the other tank and comes down here into this pipe, which is teed, and then in turn supplies my water. Now it feeds at an even rate. Now I put these ball valves on here so that I can control the water flow into each grow bed to try to get an equal amount of water dropping in. Now, because I am doing a constant flood system, I put lava rock, which is pH neutral, in the bottom of this tank, and then I filled it with clay pebbles in the top of this tank. The clay pebbles float, so I had to have something that did not float into there. Now with the swirl filter and the media filter, you don't have to do, from my understanding, a flood and drain system using a bell siphon. So in turn, I brought the water at one corner, and then it comes over here to the other side, which drains. Now you can see I used 1 inch pipe on my drain, so I went up 1/4 inch each way, and then that in turn flows down into here, and one from the other side, and it's a constant cycling of a system. Now I keep this sump about 3/4 full most of the time. I'm getting quite a bit of water evaporation out of the top of my tank, but that's how it works. Now let me show you the other side here. Right here, this pipe, I can change out my water if I want to very easily. It just flows right into my drain here on the floor. And what I did over here, oh, one more thing. This is just an aeration pipe, so I can expand my system when I'm ready to. So it gives me the ability to put my 2 other grow beds here. But this pipe here, going back to the drain, so I can drain my complete system through this fixture. Now this pipe comes over here, and I have a ball valve there, and that drains into my sump over there. Now this is the way that I set it up so that I can drain off the system. That one I didn't put a ball valve on because I can just turn the pipe upward and all the water will flow into here. Now, from my understanding, we probably don't want to do that too much because we're looking for all the bacteria to feed our plants. Now if I shut this valve off and I turn that valve on, it drains down into my floor system like I showed you over there. Now I have aeration for the top, which is just an air pump. I don't know which brand that is, but it's lasted me for a long time. Over here is my solids filter. One more thing, I can drain my solids out through this pipe. I need to plumb it a little bit more. I haven't had the need to do that yet because I'm trying to get my system cycled quickly. Then next, my lighting system. I have it cycled for currently 18 hours, and I use a Belkin switch which provides my lighting system, which here I have the track system set up, so when I turn that on, once I plant my grow beds, I can set how far out that will go, and that's all plugged in and it goes across pretty smoothly. I make sure to keep that level, and then I also have clamps so I can adjust the height of my lights. So this is just a small scale system to see how well it works, and so I can grow my spinach and tomatoes and everything during the wintertime. So that's pretty much it on this system, and it's functioning pretty well. My only problems have been I'm getting fish that get stuck into the swirl filter and then in turn into my grow bed, so I have to clean those out pretty regularly. When I run perch or tilapia in the spring, I won't have to worry about that because there's no way they can get sucked up a 3/4 inch pipe. So that's the basis of this system. Open for any comments or help. I know it's by no means the most perfect system, but I think it'll function adequately for me. So we'll see once I move these plants how well they do, and I'll keep updates. I am going to also put about 6 worms per tank per grow bed here, so that they'll eat all the extra particles and I'll have a complete system. So hope this was informative for you guys. That plumbing was always my issue. If you have any more questions, I'd be happy to shoot another video to do something a little bit more detailed if you need. Oh, lighting system. I use a fluorescent light, and then I use 2 LED lights. I got the fluorescent light for about 60 bucks on Amazon, and these were each about $50 a piece. It should provide all the wavelengths that I need. So so far so good. One last thing, I keep my pH, I try to keep it right about 7, and I check that with a digital meter. That way I keep it pretty good for the fish, and then also it should be acceptable for my plants as well. So, and then I talked about media a little bit, but media is really important to make sure that it's pH neutral. And the way you can check for that is use some white vinegar and set your whatever you're going to use for media, whether it be stone, whether it be these clay pebbles that I bought, or lava rock, which I used. They should all be pH neutral, and that's really important, or else you're going to be fighting pH the entire time. So I'm still working on getting mine all balanced out right, but overall it's working really well.